Dreams do come true. I had a dream to own this technological genius of BMW. Thankfully, I have it. I am sure you will have much better and bigger dreams and you will accomplish all of them. Let's do this question and understand the concept of standard costing, investigation and learning curve. Let's start. Let's start with a dream that I saw and completed. Now is your turn. Namaste, Adab, Sat Sri Akal. As you can see from the thumbnail, a case study on BMW by ICAI. So case study digest case scenario, case law. We are doing case study number 3 and that is on BMW Bhatia Motor Works. Wow. So thankfully I am a proud owner of a BMW 5 Series. So my team said, sir, we'll put up this as a thumbnail. Very, very creative. Anyways, now let's understand what this exactly case study is all about. So in this question, we are going to study about standard costing, investigation of variances in standard costing, and the concept of learning curve with standard costing. So very, very interesting question, can be asked in the examination for approximately 12 marks. And let's start without wasting any time. So here is a company, Bhatia Motor Works, BMW, which already has its own set of standards and budgets. And now it is planning to convert some of its learning curve variances which are there into a new meaningful investigative variances. So what exactly am I talking about? Let's start with the sum. Let's read the sum. Let's get a gist of it and let's solve it quickly on that note. So here we are, Bhatia Motor Works. Let's start, everybody. Please come here. Yes, everyone? Okay. So Bhatia Motor Works is one of the renowned coach builders, fabricator in North India with a mission to design and fabricate high quality buses that are innovative in style and engineering while maintaining standards of reliability. BMW has market both locally and internationally. So they are renowned coach builders. Do you know what is a coach builder? See, I'll tell you. Have you seen a metro train? Have you seen a metro train? Just a moment. Yes. Okay. Now, when you see a metro train from now on, see it properly. See, this is how the metro train will look like. This is how the metro train will look like. Now, BMW is into the fabrication work. Now, what is fabrication work? See, this all in the whole, this metro, whatever the welding is being done. See, now this metro is, say, for example, made of steel. So when this metro is made of steel, there is a lot of fabrication work which is being done, which is nothing but cutting of this whole metro coach, then welding and ensuring that various coaches are attached to it. So all of that is called basically as a fabrication work. Anything which involves your steel and grills and all of that, wherein you have to do welding, cutting, you have to do the molding work. See here, so there would be some molding here, cutting, all of that is called as fabrication. All of that is called as fabrication. So here we have a company which is one of the renowned coach builders, fabricators. So now, in order to make a coach, you should become a good fabricator. Only then you will be able to manage it. So that's what they're trying to say here. So BMW has market both locally and internationally. Human resource at BMW is highly skilled and well versed with latest tools. So they have chartered accountants. Yeah, obviously, if they are highly skilled, they would have chartered accountants, no? Yeah. And well versed with latest tools and techniques of respective functional area. BMW is innovative company and always try to improve its performance. In real life, it is. Till date, standard costing at BMW. Now this is where the question really starts. So what BMW is using? BMW is using standard costing as a management tool technique. Till date, standard costing at BMW is limited only up to calculation of variances. See, now this is what the traditional way used to be. Just calculate the variances, that's it. But now with, see, when I used to teach CA final old syllabus, or in fact I was also a part of CA final old syllabus, during our time what used to happen is we were expected to calculate variances using the formulas. That's it, game over. This is what standard costing for us was all about. But now in new syllabus the thought process has changed. ICAI expects you to know what is the variance, how did you get the variance, why are you calculating this variance, all of that. How do you investigate the variance and give a better solution? All of that is expected. So BMW was erstwhile using the old syllabus standard costing, but now they want to shift into new syllabus standard costing. So analysis and classification of variances are never performed. Whereas this is the heart and soul of new syllabus costing. What? Analysis, investigation of variances, classification, all of that. But newly appointed cost controller is highly motivated. He has studied from new syllabus SCMP costing. Recently, post his appointment, the budgetary system at BMW was revamped drastically as a part of cost efficiency drive. Same was done to give best response to variance identified, if any. Not only this, but cost controller is also interested in incorporation of relevant costing and learning curve in standard costing and budgetary control. So relevant costing combined with your learning curve in standard costing and budgetary control. This is what we need to know. With the help of management accountant, he is able to fetch the following data pertaining to different divisions. Okay, let's see what is the data available to us. See, till the time we don't have data, how will we do the in-depth analysis? So we are hungry for data. Now, as a chartered accountant, when I get the data, the first thing that I'm going to do is my analysis. Automatically my brains tell me, okay, now we have the data, let's do this analysis, let's do that analysis, right? Sure. Fabrication of BMW, division of BMW, manufactures two products, seat handle and seat cover, with BMW logo imprint on both apart from fabrication. Product BSH101, which is seat handle. So SH is seat handle, SC is seat cover. Okay. Takes 6 man-hours to make, while product BSC seat cover takes 12 hours. For the time being, just listen to the information. Or if you are reading the question, just read the question. That's it. In a month of 25 working days, we will write down all the information. Don't worry, I will not leave anything. We will write down all the information. First, just read the questionnaire. In a month of 25 working days of 8 hours each, 1200 units of BSH101 and 750 units of BSC102 were produced. BMW employs 75 men in the department responsible for producing these two products. We will write down all the information, then things will become clear. For now, just let's do a plain reading. The budgeted hours are 1,86,000 per annum. Okay, see now. See. This is where things deviate. Here they have given in a month of 25 actual working days of 8 hours each. 1200 units of SH and 750 units of SC were produced. BMW employs 75 men in the department responsible for producing these two products. Now they are saying budgeted hours are for 1,86,000 per annum. Remember, either convert those month into annum or annum into month. Number of budgeted working days were 26, but due to breakdown, production function actually remains in operation for 25 days only. So budgeted days, correct? Actual days. Okay. Painting division. The budget was prepared by the management accountant for painting division based upon performance of last year. Now obviously you have seen the metro, it is painted also, correct? All of this is being done by BMW. He assumes that workers learning curve rate will be 95%, but workers are skilled and specification of task is well known to them. Then in that case the workers should take lesser time, correct? So if they are going to take lesser time, the learning curve percentage will also be less. So they assure their manager of 90% learning curve rate. Learning index will be 0 minus 0.152. Since BMW believe in participatory budgeting, hence management accountant revised the budget estimates post feedback from workers group. So from 95%, they feel now that the workers that they have, that the staff that they have are very efficient, and accordingly from 95 they have reduced the learning curve rate to 90%, which means, see, always remember, lower the learning curve rate, faster is the efficiency. Lower, see, we always have a thought process. If something is going low, then in that case it is bad. That's our thought process. If I am getting 95% and now I am getting 90% in exams, oh my god, I am not performing good. In learning curve, it is vice versa. Lower the learning curve, higher the efficiency. I hope that much basics are clear, boss. If not, please listen to my learning curve videos which I have put on YouTube. Please listen to that. Right? So in learning curve, lower the learning curve rate, higher the efficiency. In each month, 15 buses are made ready for delivery after painting and fabrication. It is estimated that initial bus will take 20 hours for painting. It is estimated that learning will be terminated post 6th unit. What an important point. So 15 buses ready for delivery every month. Estimation is that the first bus, which is very important for us, this initial bus information is very important for us, will take 20 hours for painting. It is estimated that learning will be terminated post 6th unit. Okay, extracts and values from tables log 2, log 3, log 5, anti-log is given. All of that is given here. Required part. So see, the main question started at fabrication division. Initially, they just told us that there we are using relevant costing with standard costing and learning curve, and we are connecting it with budgetary control, all of that. Now they've said that fabrication division is there, then the painting division is there, and a lot of information about them is currently given. Let's continue. Required. Is favorable variance being conclusive proof of efficiency or investigation of variances is essential. Illustrate. What it means, I'll explain, don't worry. Explain the planning and operating variance. Standard cost used for variance analysis is not always relevant cost. Explain the importance of relevant cost while determining standard cost for variance analysis. Largely, the standard yardsticks are static in nature during a particular period for ease of variance analysis for the said period, but not in case of labor-related standard yardsticks due to learning curve. Assess the validity of the statement in light of need of recognition of learning curve while establishing standards. So what is this? We did not understand. Hold on. Compute the relevant budgeted hours for management accounting incorporating learning curve. Explain and interpret control ratios. So what we will do is we will first solve the part. We'll do the solving part first and then we'll go to the explanation part. My thought process is till the time we don't solve things, how will you be able to explain it logically? Right? So according to me, first we should solve it. Once we are done with the solving part, then in that case, explanation will become much more easier. All of these 6 points will be managed with ease, not to worry. What you have to do now is immediately go through this case study once. Just read the case study once at least, and then together, you and me, will get it done and dusted. Chalo. Everybody, lights, camera, rolling. Action. Please, everybody, pay attention. Read the question once and then together we will solve it by making a summary first and step by step. Start, everyone. Okay, then let's get started. Now, before I start, as I said, we will first be solving point number 5, member number 5, and then we will be moving on to point number 6. Very, very important points. Now, point number 5 is relating to learning curve with standard costing. My first question to you, do you know what is learning curve? I'm assuming that by the time you are watching this lecture, at least learning curve you would have done. If not, in the description box, probably I will be sharing my YouTube link. Please go through that so that you know what exactly learning curve is. In a nutshell, learning curve means when a laborer does the same work again and again, he becomes efficient in doing that work, and for doing that same thing, he will take less time. Confused? I'll give you another example. Suppose there is a CA final student like you. You study costing for the first time. It will take you around 15 days. Now I ask you a simple question. When you are reading the same costing from the same book for the second time, will you still take 15 days or you will take lesser time? Sir, but obvio, we will take lesser time. So what is happening to you? You are becoming efficient. What does that technically mean? That learning curve is being applied on your brains. In the same way, when laborer does the same thing again and again, same thing again and again, then the time for doing that next time reduces, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is basically called as learning curve. Now here what has happened, I'll tell you. They thought that in order to make 15 buses, now suppose now I am a laborer, I will make one bus. I am a laborer, I will make one bus. Once I make one bus, then second time when I make the same bus, can I say learning curve will apply? I just told you, when you do the same thing again and again, learning curve applies. Correct? When you make the another same bus, so when you make the first bus, correct, first bus, when you are making, how much time is you are consuming? Can I say 20 hours? Estimated that the initial bus will take 20 hours. So when you make the first bus, you are taking 20 hours. You are taking 20 hours. Correct? When you are going to make the second bus, can I say the time taken will obviously reduce. When you make the third bus, again the time taken will reduce. Fourth bus, again the time will reduce. Hey, samjhigudu, are we clear, everybody? But they have clearly said that after the sixth bus, the learning curve will stop. The learning curve will cease. So where is the point written here? Here. See here. It is estimated that learning will be terminated after the sixth unit, which means that this diagram that I have drawn, that first bus, second bus less time, third bus even lesser time, fourth bus even lesser time, fifth bus even lesser time, sixth bus even lesser time. Now the time taken for this sixth bus will continue for the remaining buses. Buses or whatever, wagon or whatever you want to say. Hey, are you understanding, macha? Are you understanding, guys? Yes or no? See again, just to give you an idea here, when I make the first bus, it will take me 20 hours. When I make the second, can I say learning curve will apply? Now, how much learning curve will apply? So, So, they have said, they thought that 95% learning curve will apply, but in reality, 90% is going to apply. So, when they started, they thought it will be 95%. So, when they were doing the budgeting work, at that point in time, they thought 95% learning curve will apply. But in reality, it is 90% learning curve that is going to apply. 90% learning curve that is going to apply. Samjhigudu, yes, are we clear, everybody? So, based on obviously the reality, which is 90%, so they are sure that they are manager of 90% learning curve rate. So 90% learning curve is going to apply here. 90% is going to apply here. From 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. Again, everywhere 90% learning curve keeps on applying. But at this level, it stops. At this level, it stops. The learning curve stops. So from the sixth bus to 15th bus, from the 6th bus to 15th bus, can I say the learning curve will not apply? So whatever time we took for the 6th bus, same thing will apply. For same time we are going to take for 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. Are you understanding? Yes or no? If this logic is clear, then in that case things will become much easier when we solve this questionnaire. Yes, are we understanding? Okay, gotcha. Chalo, cool. So yeah, so now this is how the whole things work. 6 to 15 bus. So now what we have to answer is this. Look at the question now. compute revised budgeted labor hours, because our original labor hours were based on 95% learning curve, but now the learning curve is 90%. So revised budgeted labor hours for management accounting incorporating learning curve. Incorporating learning curve. Sanjay Gudu? Okay? Yes. So here we will say that what we need to calculate, bolo tell, we need to calculate total hours for 15 buses, correct, using 90% as the learning rate. So we need to calculate total hours for 15 buses using 90% learning curve. Using 90% learning curve. Gacha? Yes, Gaja? Okay. Okay. Now, we will also give them an explanation for the first 6 buses. Learning curve will apply. For remaining buses, which is 15 minus 6, for remaining buses, which is 15 minus 6, for remaining buses, which is 15 minus 6, learning curve as on 6th bus will apply for remaining 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. Correct? So, learning curve as on 6th bus will apply for remaining 6th also will be included. So, 6th bus, that same will apply for 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. So 10 buses for remaining 10 buses. So what will happen? For first 5 buses we will do. So for the first 5 buses learning curve will apply. It will also apply for the 6th bus. Don't worry. But whatever as we have received for 6th bus will keep on going for 15 buses. I'll give you the explanation, not to worry. So, first apply for 5 buses, but obvious. For the 6th bus, also it will apply. So, for 6 buses also we will do. What we will do is this, see here. First, total learning curve for first 5 buses. Total learning curve for first 5 buses, then from 6th to 15th bus, from 6th to 15th bus, how many buses are there? 10 buses are there, correct? So what we will do here, calculate learning curve of 6th bus. Calculate learning curve of the 6th bus. So if we see here, 6th bus learning curve is what? Total time of 6 buses minus total time of 5 buses will give me the time taken for the 6th bus. Will give me the time taken for the 6th bus, and this will continue till 15 buses. This will continue till 15 buses. Bacha, everybody, please everyone copy this much copy. Come on, you can just pause and copy if you want. Chalo, are we done? Are we done? So again, for the first 5 buses we will first calculate. Then for 6 buses cumulatively we will calculate. So cumulative of 5 buses, cumulative of 6 buses less cumulative of 5 buses will give us the time taken for the 6th bus, which includes the learning curve also. That will apply for the remaining 10. So it includes for 6th and the remaining ones as well. Gotcha, everyone? Sure. So let's start the journey. Yes, guys. So required is, so what are we calculating? Calculation of total time taken for first 5 buses. Calculation of total time taken for first 5 buses. So tell me, time taken for first 5 buses. So we will use the formula. Do you know the formula? Y is equal to A into X raised to B. Okay, Y is the average time for X number of buses, X number of units. So Y will give me average time of 5 buses. Basically, Y will give me average time of 5 buses. Okay, A is what? Time taken for first bus. Time taken for first bus. Okay. Okay, what is X? Total number of buses. Total number of buses, which is 5 in our case. Total is 15. But after 6th bus, learning curve will not apply, no. So total number of buses 5. And last is B. B is what? Learning curve coefficient. learning curve coefficient. Chalo, quickly copy everyone. Quickly copy. Come on. You can pause and copy if you want. Yes? Are you able to recollect all of this? Gotcha. You can watch my detailed video of learning curve if your learning curve concepts are not clear. Chalo, we will now start on that note. So y is equal to a. A is the time taken for first unit, which is 20 hours. Alright. So we will write is equal to 20 into x, which is 5, raised to b, learning curve coefficient, which is how much? It is minus 0.152. Minus 0.152. Subjugudu. Chalo, now we have to solve this. How will you solve this? Correct. You have to multiply both sides by log, because this cannot be solved in your normal computer. So what if we take scientific calculator and solve this? Examiner will give you a big 0. You have to show the examiner how you are going to solve this. So multiplying, and I think legally also it's not allowed. Multiplying both sides by log. Multiplying both sides by log. So log y is equal to log 20 minus 0.152 log 5. Sir, what have you done? I'll tell you. Okay, multiplying both sides by log. So this is multiplication. Always remember, a into b becomes log a plus log b. And second is a raised to b. A raised to b becomes b log a. Becomes b log a. Samjigudu. Please. Alright. Chalo. Now quickly we can solve this. Start. So log y is equal to log 20 minus 0.152 into log 5. What is the information given to us? Can I say log 5 is directly given? So we will use that. Correct? Other than that, what will you use? Tell me and calculate it. So 1 log 5 that they have given, directly use. Log 20 is given. Log 20, how will you use? You cannot use anything else other than what is given. So 2, 3 and 5. Only these 3 things you can use. Tell me. Bolo, tell. I'll tell you. So log y is equal to log 20. Log 20 means 20.0. So before decimal, 2 digits are there. 2 minus 1 is what? 1. So we will write here 1. See, again I'm telling you, this is basics. Now if you don't know all of this, please watch my video and you will be able to recollect everything. Then you can come here. This 20 can be written as 20.0. This 20 can be written as 20.0. Now before decimal, there are 2 numbers, 2 digits. 2 minus 1. By default you have to do minus 1. So it will become 1 point. So 2 minus 1, 1 point. Now we have the answer for log 2. So log 2 stands for what? 0.3010. Log 2 stands for what? 0.3010. So we will say it is 1.3010. Log y is equal to 1.3010. Samjigudu. Acha. Great. Then minus 0.152 into log 5. How much is log 5? 0.6990. 0.6990. Okay. Sure. So we will write here 1.3010 minus 0.152 into 0.6990. 248. Okay, so 1.3010 minus 0.106 248 is 1.194752. Let's check whether we have the antilog of this. 1.1948. 1.1948 is this. Ha! So we will say multiplying both sides by antilog. Log antilog y is equal to antilog of 1.1948. So y is equal to, directly it is given 15.66. It is 15.66 hours. Gotcha, everybody. So y is equal to 15.66 hours. Now what we have to do is we will say that y is equal to 15.66 hours. Got it? Now y is equal to average time of 5 buses, which is equal to 15.66 hours. Multiply by 5 buses will give us total time to make 5 buses, which is equal to how much? Bolo bolo tell. Equal to 78.3 hours. Subjugadu. Now, if you are clear with this, then 6 will become very fast and easier. If you are able to solve this, 6 will become very fast and easy. So, giving you all 2 minutes, quickly write it down. Start. Chalo, done? Yes? Okay? Bingo. Now the same logic to be applied for 6 buses. So, total time for 6 buses. So, what is the total time for 6 buses? Y is equal to A into X raised to B. Okay, time taken for 6 buses. Y is equal to 20 into X raised to B. What is X? 6 raised to minus 0.152 as it is. Correct? Multiplying both sides by log. So multiplying both sides by log. Right? So this will become log y is equal to log 20, which we have already calculated, plus in bracket minus 0.152 into log 6. Subjugadu. Okay, now therefore log y is equal to log 20. What is log 20? 1.3010 minus, oh sorry, plus minus 0.152 into. Now log 6 can be written as log 2 into 3, which can be written as log 2 plus 3. Did not get me? See here. Log 6 can be written as 2 into 3. Correct? And 2 into 3 can be written as log 2 plus log 3. Samjhigada. So here we will write down into log 2 plus log 3. Okay. So 1.3010 plus 0.152 into. What is log 3 already given in the question? 0.3010. So we will write here 0.3010 plus. Log 3 is also given. Log 3 is 0.4771. 0.4771. Gotcha. Okay, so 1.3010 plus 0.152 into 0.3010 plus 0.4771. So 0.7781 equal to, so 0.7781 plus 0.152, 1.3010 plus 0.9301 equal to 2.2311. Let's see whether we are right or wrong. No, we are not right, because correct. If we were right, then we would have got anti-log here. So some calculation error I have done. Let's quickly just check out. 0.3010 plus okay, this is minus. So this I have not taken as minus. I have to take that. I'll just write it down. The minus sign. This is minus. This is minus. So this is wrong. Perfect. Now we are right. So minus 0.152 into 0.7781 is okay. Minus 0.1183. So 1.3010 minus 0.1183 equal to 1.1827. Equal to 1.1827. Do we have it? Yes, we have it. So 15.23. Let's write it down. Y is equal to 15.23 multiplied by 6 buses. Woo. So it is 91.38 hours. Okay. Gotcha. Everybody. 91.38 hours is the time taken for 6 buses. Time taken for 6 buses. Please quickly everybody start. Giving you all 2 minutes. Okay, now time for the last calculation. Let's start. So, total time taken for 15 buses is equal to time taken for 5 buses is how much? Time taken for 5 buses is how much? 78.3 hours. So we will write here 78.3 hours. Second, time taken for 10 buses remaining. So how much is that? 6th bus time multiplied by 10. So what is the time taken for 6th bus? So we will just quickly calculate here. Time taken, see this is time taken for 6 buses. We need time taken for 6th bus. We need time taken for 6th bus, which is total time for 6 buses less total time for 5 buses. Correct? Okay, total time for 6 buses 91.38. Achha, total time for 5 buses 78.3. So, time taken for 6th bus is how much? So, 91.38 minus 78.3, which is 13.08. So 13.08 multiplied by 10 buses. So this will be 130.8 hours in all 209.1 hours is the time taken for 15 buses. Woo! So what is the revised budgeted hours using learning curve for 15 buses? I hope now the numbers are clear to each one of you. Gotcha? Hey buddies, gotcha? Okay. Copy. Okay, done. So with this we will say that our 5th part is done. Let's cross check with their answer. And yes, it is 209.1 hours and 209.1 hours. So 5th part totally done. Now we have to move on to the 6th part, which is even more challenging. Tell me. Let me tell you. But for that you should know the formulas of fixed overhead variances. If you don't know, please watch my standard costing video wherein I have explained you all the formulas of fixed overhead variances, and those fixed overhead variances formulas, first watch them out and then only watch the ahead part of this video. My suggestion. Okay, I hope all of you have written it. Yes, so that we can now move on to the 6th part. Okay then, so now we are going to move on to the 6th part. Let me repeat again. Do not watch this lecture ahead till the time you are clear with formulas of standard costing fixed overhead variances. Now you may say that, sir, we are not aware, we don't know. So for that, in the description link, I am sharing with you revision lecture of fixed overhead variances. First watch them and then come back here. Who's saying no? But first watch them, because if you are not aware of those fixed overhead variances, you will not be able to solve the sixth part of this question. I hope you appreciate it. And now we will start with that. Explain and interpret control ratios. Control control. So what exactly are your control ratios? Okay. So in all, there are 4 control ratios. First is called as efficiency ratio, which is derived from the formula of fixed overhead efficiency variance. That's the reason I told you connection is directly with fixed overhead variances. So efficiency ratio, fixed overhead efficiency variance. The connection is there. So what is fixed overhead efficiency variance? It is standard hours for actual production minus actual hours worked into recovery rate per hour. So what is the formula of efficiency ratio? Same thing, only now that we have to write it in form of the ratio. So this same standard hours for actual production will come here. So standard hours for actual production divide by actual hours worked. Gotcha? Okay. Second is capacity ratio. Capacity ratio is derived from the formula of fixed overhead capacity variance. So fixed overhead capacity variance. Gotcha? Chalo. What is fixed overhead capacity variance formula? It is budgeted hours minus actual hours into recovery rate per hour. Again, formula as it is will be put up here. The only thing is here we will write actual hours up, divide by budgeted hours into 100. Into 100. Gotcha? Okay. So actual hours divided by budgeted hours into 100. This is your capacity ratio. So again, linking with the formula. Third of the control ratio is activity ratio. What is activity ratio? We don't have to do it separately. Efficiency ratio that we will calculate multiply by capacity ratio that we will calculate. We will get activity ratio. Gotcha? Next, D. Next, after activity ratio, what we will get? Calendar ratio. Calendar ratio. So budgeted days and actual days. So here with the formula is what? Budgeted days minus actual days into recovery rate per day. Gotcha. So formula wise also same. Just that here first we will write actual days divide by budgeted days into 100. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yes, everybody. Are you understanding? Yeah. So that gives me my calendar ratio. These are my control ratios basically. These are my control ratios. Sure. Please write it down if you want. It will be better for you. Now, all we need to do is find out What is standard hours for actual production, actual hours, budgeted hours, and bingo, we'll be able to calculate all the control ratios. So quickly, your time starts now, giving you all 1 minute. Write it down. Again, if you have a question, sir, I don't remember, then in that case, yes, refer the YouTube video. Detailed video is also there. Short videos are also there. All you can find out. Shall we? Yes, we should start with the solution. Now, a lot of information is given to us. So the first thing that we have to do is list down all the available information in a proper format. In a proper format. Do we know the format? In a proper format. So now my next question, do we know the format? So let's check out. So we have a set format for any sum that ICAI wants to ask, any sum of fixed overhead variances. Of fixed overhead variances. So particulars, budget, actual. Particulars, budget and actual. What is the format? I'll tell you. One is fixed overhead expenditure, budgeted and actual. Other is production in units. Other is labor hours. Then there is recovery rate per unit. How do you calculate this recovery rate per unit? So budgeted fixed overhead divided by budgeted production. Okay, then we have recovery rate per hour. So what is recovery rate per hour? Budgeted fixed overhead divided by budgeted hours. And then we have standard hours for actual production. Now how do you calculate this standard hours? That can also be calculated. So we will say standard hours. So that probably will be given in your question. So whatever is given, multiply that by actual production. You will get standard hours for actual production. Now what are the amounts that we are looking for? What are the amounts that we are looking for? We are looking for standard hours for actual production. Correct? So let's see here. So we are looking for this number. Standard hours for actual production. We are looking for this number. This is what? This is actual hours. Okay. Then we are looking for budgeted hours. So can I say we are looking for this? Then actual days, budgeted days. Oh, I forgot to write that. So we are looking for recovery rate per hour. So we are looking for recovery rate per hour. Correct? Now instead of this recovery rate per unit, we can write budgeted days, actual days. We will write here budgeted, or we will write here days. Budgeted days, actual days is what we are looking for. And recovery rate per day. Recovery rate per day is what we are looking for. So how do you calculate the recovery rate per day? So recovery rate per day is equal to, again, budgeted fixed overhead divided by budgeted days. So recovery rate per day is also what we are looking for. If all that I have circled is what we are able to calculate, then in that case, bingo, we are through. Okay, now in order to calculate recovery rate per day or recovery rate per hour, we should have budgeted fixed overhead. So we are looking for budgeted fixed overhead as well. So these are the things, small things that we are looking for. If we are able to calculate all of this, then the sum is ours. The sixth part will be easily done. Now let us check out all the information that is given. Then what we will do is we will pick up the information, put it up here in the fill in the blanks, and here we will get the solution as well. Samjh gadu? Chalo, let's start. My suggestion, please draw this pro forma, so to say. And whenever you are solving a sum on fixed overhead, any sum, see this is a sum on control ratios, but it has eventually all the formulas of fixed overhead only. So whenever you are solving a sum on fixed overhead, always use this and see how easily you will be able to manage any question. Let it be any advanced level. It is. Yes? Okay. Okay. You can pause and write if you not it. Chalo, let's start now. Sure. So BMW manufactures two product seats, seat handle, seat cover with BMW logo imprint on both apart from fabrication. Product SH. So SH is seat handle, takes 6 man hours to make, while product BSC takes 12 hours a month of 25 actual working days of 8 hours each. Okay? 1200 units of BSH and 750 units of BSC were produced. Chalo, let's write down all the information that we have, guys. Yes? Okay, BMW employs 755 men in the department responsible for producing these two products. Budgeted hours are 1,86,000 per annum. Number of budgeted working days were 26. Due to breakdown production, actual remains in production for 25 days only. At least one thing so I am clear. Days, budgeted days was 26, actual days is 25. See, always stay happy with whatever you get. So I found out something, prime of SE, I have written it here. Now let's break down the whole question. Product BSH, SH means seat handle, takes 6 man hours to make a product, while product BSC takes 12 hours. So can I say this is standard hours? Correct? So two products we have, SH and SC, seat handle and seat cover. Standard hours per unit. Standard hours per unit. Okay, for SH, how much is the standard hours per unit? So, product BSH takes 6 man hours to make a product, while BSC takes 12 hours. So, 6 hours here and 12 hours here. Standard hours per unit. Then, 1200 units, sorry, in a month, 25 actual working days of 8 hours each. Can I say this is the information for actual? Correct? Can I say this is the information for actuals? What? that 25 days at the rate 8 hours per day are being worked, and 1200 units of BSH and 750 units of BSC were produced. So can I say this is my actual production? Correct? So actual production is how much for SH and SC? Can I say it is 1200 and 750 units? 1200 units and 750 units. Okay. So here can I write standard hours for actual production I can get, because standard hours per unit is there. If I multiply this by actual production, I will get standard hours for actual production. I will get standard hours for actual production. What is the actual production? Into 1200 units and into 750 units. So 1200 units into 6 is 7200 hours, and 750 into 12 is 9000 hours. So which works out to 16,200 hours. Samjhi gadu? Gotcha? Okay. Continuing. Budgeted hours. Okay. BMW employs 75 men in the department responsible for producing these two products. So can I say in one day 8 hours are worked? In all 75 workers are working. So can I say in a day 75 into 8, 600 hours are being worked? Actually 25 days is what this happens. So 600 hours per day multiply by 25 days gives us what? Can I say 15,000 hours is the actual working? 15,000 hours is the actual working. Correct? See now, your actual production is 1200 and 750 unit. But what is the actual hours per unit? They have not given. But indirectly they have given that there are 75 workers who work for 8 hours in a day. And in all there are 25 days. So giving us 15,000 hours. Okay. And last is budgeted hours are 1,86,000 per annum. Budgeted hours are 1,86,000 hours per annum. So equal to, so 1,86,000 hours per annum divide by 12 months will give me how much? Bolo bolo tell. It will give me 15,100 hours. Gotcha. Gotcha everybody. Yes? Okay. So can I write here budgeted hours 15,500? Can I write here actual hours 15,000 hours? Can I write here standard hours for actual production 16,200 hours? Awesome. Right? Are you understanding, guys? Again, I'm telling you, this slide is the most important slide in our calculative arena. Most important. So please give special attention to this. We have standard hours per unit. Into actual production, we get standard hours for actual production 1. See, it is all based on how smartly we are reading the question. So we read the question, we kept on putting all the ingredients here, giving us the final answers. Yes. Are we clear? Okay. Yes, are we clear, guys? Done? Shabash. So, giving you all 1 minute. Quickly write this down. Are we done? Sure. Now, are we now in a position to calculate all of this? Yes. See, recovery rate per hour or recovery rate per unit was required. See, this was required if we had to calculate the fixed overhead variance. We just have to calculate the ratio. So you don't need a recovery rate per day. You don't need a recovery rate per hour. You don't need a fixed overhead expenditure amount because you don't need the recovery rates. Okay, so now let's quickly substitute. So standard hours for actual production. What is standard hours for actual production? Standard hours for actual production is 16,200. Actual hours worked is 15,000. Multiply by 100 will be how much? Tell me. So 16,200 divided by 15,000 into 100 is 108%. So we are 108% effective. Means we should have taken 16,200 hours. The work for which we should have taken 16,200 hours, we have completed it in 15,000 hours. We are efficient. The time we should have taken is 16,200 hours, but we have completed it in 15,000 hours. We are 108% effective. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Actual hours divided by budgeted hours. Tell me what is actual hours? 15,000, budgeted hours 15,500. So we are able to unutilize the capacity fully. See, logical explanation, you will get it in my YouTube video lecture. For now, 15,000 divided by 15,500 is 96.7%. So we are underutilizing our capacity by 3.3%. Okay. Then activity ratio is 108% into 96.7%, giving me how much? 104.44%. And last is calendar ratio. 25 days divided by 26 days into 100 works out to how much? It is 96.15%. Bingo, bingo, bingo. Woo! Are we clear, everybody? Are we clear, everybody? Please, all yours. Yes? So, with this, we complete all the control ratios as well. I hope it was effective, easy, and manageable. Yes, you can now write down, giving you all 2 minutes. Okay. Yes, guys, done. So with this, 6th part was also done. Calculation of control ratios. All the workings also are done. Sure. Great. You want to write? Giving you all time. Okay, so now we will move on to the theoretical part of the question. Okay, first, if favorable variance being conclusive proof of efficiency or investigation of variances is essential, Definitely investigation of variance is essential. Suppose your material cost variance is 1000 favorable, but when you divide it into material usage variance and material price variance, it is possible that your material price variance is 2000 adverse and your material usage variance is 3000 favorable. So now just looking at that 1000 favorable, you may not investigate, you may not analyze, and you may not even realize that your material price variance is 2000 adverse, which you should improve. It can be vice versa also. This can be 3000 favorable, but this can be 2000 adverse. Now, even in such scenario, even in this scenario, we can say that there is a possibility that our purchase manager is purchasing inferior quality of raw material. Why? So that his variance will be favorable, because inferior quality of raw material you can get in less amount. Once you get it in less amount, then in that case what will happen is that you will say 3000 favorable. But because of that inferior raw material, it is a possibility that you may need more input, because inferior raw material is there, then a lot of it may be scrapped, a lot of it may not be used. So as a result, the consumption of raw material may increase, resulting into a overall usage variance of adverse, right? So it is always important to analyze and investigate even if it is favorable. Bacha, possible that this you may get material usage variance 3000 favorable, which when split into material mix variance and material yield variance, it is possible that this can be 6000 adverse and this may be 9000 favorable. Now just looking at 3000 favorable, you may feel that yes, everything is good. But hey macha, what about these? What about material mix variance? Bolo bolo tell. So that is where it becomes very important for us to analyze this in the best manner possible. Alright, so let's look at their answer. Variances identify post comparison of actual cost against standard cost are not a conclusive sign of performance. Just looking at favorable does not mean everything is in the right track. In case of composite variances, you will realize there can be a favorable or adverse, and that may create a big variation. Bacha, okay. No doubt variances are strong indicator of the potential problem. However, investigation of root cause of adverse variances is necessary. Investigation of root cause of adverse variances is necessary. Case, I sorry. Some of variances are composite in nature. For example, material usage variance can be further classified in efficiency and yield. Hence, break down them in part and investigation of each element becomes essential. So, even favorable variance needs to be investigated. To understand this statement, a suitable illustration can be of raw material, that too in competitive pricing environment. Suppose inferior quality good whose price is comparatively less is ordered. On the one side, favorable price variance will arise. On the other side, most likely there will be a substantial more scrap and rework, and thus a higher usage variance. Gotcha. Yes, everybody? Done. So this was the part. I hope we are clear. Second part. Explain planning and operating variances. See now. Again, for a detailed understanding of this, again in my description, I am sharing a video wherein I have explained in detail planning and operational variance. You know what happens is this. When you start making a budget, there is a possibility that your budget may deviate from the reality, when you actually start doing the real work. Say for example, you had budgeted that price of petrol will be rupees 100 based on global crude oil prices. Based on global crude oil prices, you thought that price of petrol will be 100. Now when you actually start purchasing, correct? It is possible that the global crude oil prices, now suppose at that point the global crude oil prices were $50 per barrel. Now the global crude oil prices have become $100 per barrel. So obviously your planning will go for a toss. Ideally this 100 should be restated to 200. Ideally this 100 should be restated to 200. Hey macha, are you clear? So this change in planning, this is called as change in planning, happens because of uncontrollable factors. Now global crude oil prices have changed. Is it in my hand? Global crude oil prices have changed. Is it in my hand? No. So these uncontrollable factors have to be given effect to. This uncontrollable factor has to be given effect to and made controllable. Right? So now we will revise our budget. We will revise our budget based on the actuals. We will revise our budget to 200. Got it? Now, when you compare it with the actual, suppose in reality, I have purchased this petrol for 230 or I have purchased it for 180. Now, if I have purchased it for 230, then in that case, can I say now, after the revised budget, can I say we should have purchased it at 200? 200 we should have purchased it, but we are purchasing it at 230. If that is the scenario, bacha, if that is the scenario, then in that case, I will say that we have done a wrong job. So our operations management is not good. So operating variance, which can also be called as a controllable variance, is not good. Or instead, now ideally we should have bought it at 200, but if we bought it at 180, then our operations management is good. Our controllable variance, something that was in our control, is taken care of, and we will say operating variance is good. Got it? So when you restate your budget, revised budget, that restating is called as change in planning, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is called as a planning variance. And the deviation from planning to actual, or when the revised budget with the actual, is called as operational variance. Gotcha? Okay, see, planning variance. These variances are arising due to revision of standards. In order to compute planning variance, original standard needs to be compared with a revised standard. Again, I am telling you a detailed video if you want. I have given two classic examples. Description box, go to the description, click on planning operating variance that I have written description, click there, watch the video, you will love it. Planning variance, original standard needs to be compared with revised standard. Revised standard is that which may be used as a yardstick if what happened earlier to person responsible for planning. These are also known as planning variance. So something earlier had happened, but now things have changed and not in our hands. And operating variance are variances on account of variance of actual performance from revised standards. Actual performance from revised standards. Samjigudu. So understanding is very important. Writing on your own becomes very easy. In simple English, we just have to write this. Gotcha? Okay. Then is third, variance analysis and relevant cost. So what is this question? I'll show you. Standard cost used for variance analysis is not always relevant cost. Explain the importance of relevant cost while standard cost variance analysis. See, it is very important that if a resource is scarce, if a resource is scarce, then in that case it is very important that we take the purchase cost plus the opportunity cost. This is what our fundamental of relevant cost tells us. Now ideally in standard costing, what do? We just take the purchase cost and do our computations. As simple as that. We just take the purchase cost is taken, and then we do our calculation. Standard quantity minus actual quantity into standard cost. Now if the resource is scarce and if you are using this, then sorry boss, but things will not work the way they should. In such scenarios, you have to write down purchase plus opportunity cost. You have to write down purchase plus opportunity cost. Yes, got it, everybody? So this is how the things should work. If a resource is scarce, always use the relevant cost of that raw material or labor, as the case may be. So let's come here. Variance analysis and relevant cost. Traditional analysis approach to variance analysis is to compute variance based on acquisition cost incurred out of pocket and standard price for the acquisition of such resources. That is the traditional way. But in today's scenario, resources are scarce. So what do you do in such cases? This may be misleading when resources are scarce in nature. Because if scarcity, remember, if the resources are scarce, then we use the replacement cost or the realizable value. All of that is what? That is relevant cost. Because if scarce resources are not effectively used, it will not only increase the purchase cost, but also result in loss of contribution. Hence, it makes sense if we incorporate relevant costing to variance analysis in terms of contribution lost on scarce resource or bottleneck activities. To illustrate, while computing material usage variance, lost contribution should be embedded in standard price to reflect how efficiently scarce resources is being used. So standard quantity minus actual quantity into a relevant standard price. Okay. Where relevant standard price is standard cost of acquisition of scarce resources added by contribution loss. Nothing else. So they are just trying to say, what is this relevant standard price? Acquisition cost plus the opportunity cost. Got the third part? Bingo. And let's move on to the last part, fourth part. Fifth and sixth is done. Largely the standard yardsticks are static in nature. Very good point. During a particular period for ease of variance analysis for the said period, but not in case of labor related standard due to learning curve effect, which I have already explained to you in detail while I was explaining fifth point. In light of this need of recognition of learning curve while establishing the standards, so according to me, it is very important to recognize the importance of learning curve while establishing the standards, because whenever you are using the concept of standard costing, your learning curve in terms of labor should always be applied. See, now in our example of 15 buses, if that learning curve concept was not applied, then our budgeted hours and actual hours both will be wrong. So it becomes very important, because in case of laborer, if that laborer is doing the same job again and again, then there is definite application of learning curve and there is definite reduction in labor hours as to what we had thought of. So definitely it should be used. Let's come here. Learning curve recognizes the progression of learning potential of people. So now what they are telling is, they are just giving you 2-3 lines of explanation of what is learning curve. It presumes worker becomes quicker if he repeats the process. Now This presumption has implication on standard setting process. Now this presumption has implication of standard setting process in regards to computation of labor related variance and interpretation that. See here. So whenever you are setting standard from now on, if there is labor hours, ensure learning curve if applicable, use that and then set your standards as what we did in the 5th point. That's the reason I taught you the 5th point first. Due to learning curve, standard time established soon become outdated yardstick for performance evaluation. Hence, computing labor variance with such outdated standard is meaningless because your labor hours based on budget is old. Hence, in order to accommodate rapid change in form of reduction of time required or taken, producing further each unit of same product with identical specification, effect of learning curve should be considered while computing labor variance. Effect of learning curve should be embedded while setting the standard. What a point! Everybody please clap. Effect of learning curve should be embedded while setting the standard. Totally agree with this. Even in case of material related variances, learning curve has critical implication. Now, in case of material, so how is material and learning curve related? Labor agreed, does the same thing again and again. In case of material also what happens is, suppose there is a material which is being used, correct? Now, if that quality of material is being used again, then the chances of its wastage, chances of its scrap becomes less. So, learning curve is applicable there also in case of material also. Remember that. Because while producing identical product for the second time, so first time you make a product, you use a raw material. There are chances that the composition of raw material that you have used first time may not be correct. So there can be a scrap, there can be a wastage, all of that. But now think the next time when you are making the same product, can I say the raw material wastage and all of that will come down? Got it? Yes. While producing identical product for second time or thereafter, there is probability of elimination of defect and wastage. Same may improve both the material price and usage variances. Variable production overhead which are associated to labor hours may also impacted by learning curve. Hence, considering the effect of learning curve is essential for material and overhead also. See, remember, always remember labor hours and the hours used for variable and fixed overhead are same. So if labor hours are based on learning curve, automatically variable overhead, the hours used for variable overheads are also going to be same. Hours used for fixed overhead are also going to be same. So if this is applied learning curve, variable overhead, fixed overhead will also be applied with learning curve. Material will also be applied with learning curve. In short, from now on, whenever we are setting a standard, learning curve is extremely important. So how was my BMW sum? Yes, chalo. Okay, so with this we complete this questionnaire. I hope we are done. Everybody is clear. Yes, guys. Okay. Chalo. With this, we complete this session. And as I told you at the start of the session, dreams do come true. Just work hard for them. Be disciplined for them. I had a dream of BMW. Currently, I am teaching that question. And I also have it. Proudly, I can say. It's a technological beauty. I am sure you will have a much bigger and better car. Just stay awake for your dreams. Keep dreaming. Keep smiling. And keep rocking. Thank you so much. Hasta la vista. Take care.